What are the consequences of making digital characters more representative of other walks of life, more diverse, more open about their genders, their backstories, their sexual orientations, and different colors of skin to include more people rather than exclude a majority of people who feel that maybe things are just becoming too progressive too fast and shouldn't really be changing that much, especially when it comes to norms. We've seen this conversation happen with The Little Mermaid, where obviously Ariel being cast in this new upcoming Disney film is going to be portrayed by a black woman. And this has given a lot of trouble and grief, not only to the actress playing Ariel, but to a lot of the film executives and to many people online who are saying, why is this such a big deal? And of course, getting hit with many people spouting hate and spouting ignorance about how this shouldn't change and how important it is that Ariel stays the same Caucasian red hair as she was in the original. Now, I'm all about original source pieces, and for me, I personally am not really a fan of changing things that have already worked in the first place. I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and seeing Lord of the Rings in a different light in the Rings of Power show is not a problem for me, but it also is different because I grew up liking this one specific thing. But then I have to challenge myself as to saying, is the reason I like that because the way those characters looked? Or did I just associate what I liked already with the story, with the character development, with the emotions and the moments of that movie, with how the characters look? And it has nothing to do with whether they look completely different or they look the way that they did. And I think that many of us are coming to that realization because I've witnessed great media over the last couple of years where things have gotten more and more progressive, where yes, races have been changed. Yes, we've seen women and roles where traditionally men were basically that role in the book or vice versa, and it's played just as well or even better. Foundation, one of those really interesting changes that they did to some of the casting, but a really terrific TV series, and it didn't take anything away, and in fact it actually added an element that I wasn't expecting. All in all, I think that there's some really big trauma that needs to be solved here because of course many people aren't having a nuanced conversation about this, and it's bringing up very emotional reactions to people whenever they see something like this in the next piece of popular media. That brings us to today. We're in Apex Legends recent review, a game that I love, that I cast, that I play very often, and is probably the most inclusive and I think progressive game as far as including other genders, races, looks, walks of life, sexual orientations into their characters to represent as many people as possible. With their release of their latest Stories of the Outlands trailer, it ended up giving a lot of fuel to a conversation that maybe, at least on my end, wasn't expecting to be had this afternoon.
And that's supposed to tell you something?
This crystal represents courage. This represents beauty.
Watching the video, I didn't have too many reactions about it. In fact, it's not a slight on Apex Legends. I just think I like some of the other Stories of the Outlands a little bit better than this one, although this was a really great piece. There was really good cinematography. I love some of the romantic elements and moments that they put together. And of course, there was a lead up of a new map and a new character, which is always exciting when you are a gamer and you play the game that is releasing those new things. All of that, though, overshadowed by this specific moment here.
It's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
So are you. This suits you.
I feel like the whole world has opened up now that I'm myself.
I'm glad. Funny, isn't it? The moon may be dying, but it's this place that's broken.
Do you really think Cleo will collapse?
Not if I can help it. Give me your hand.
So
I
cinematic.
see creativity, compassion, leadership.
Leadership.
This is dope.
Really?
It's a good qualities.
I only tell you what the palm tells me. And you're much stronger than you realize. You've already been through so much.
Transitioning. That was sort of hard.
But look at you now. You'll go on to do great things.
I love the
has been
message.
seen.
I love the message. The newest legend catalyst. Tressa Smith, who is a defensive conjurer who uses something called pharaoh fluid to manipulate the battlefield, is a trans woman. And this was quite a shock to many people, especially online, and specifically in an area called Twitter. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with Twitter, but the reason I denote it very specifically is because when you look on YouTube, a very different conversation was happening. I expected to see the same thing or worse on Twitter, but instead I saw this. Hammond got the weakest security I've ever seen. Yo, they straight up actually just walked into that thing. You're so right. That was the weakest security I've ever seen. And I honestly feel like even when they found out, there was straight up like one robot. You know what I'm saying? They had already touched the plasma. They had already touched the black liquid. They had already had a conversation up in that piece. They'd already placed a bomb. And then not only do they not send the troops, they send one robot with the slowest walk ever and a charge rifle. I mean, yeah. I love the part where Ray said, I think someone is targeting me after getting hit by 4 arrows, 13 bullets, and an arc star. Truly an Apex experience. Another Apex Wraith passive joke. You gotta love them. Love that part where Ash said, follow me. I will cut us a path to perfection. Then Portal's like 3 feet away on accident because ult bug. Truly an Apex experience. I see where this is going. I love the part where Bangalore said, hey, giving him the chimney, and proceeded to block her team's vision, getting them killed. Truly an Apex experience. I love the part where Mirage said, it's dupes o'clock, then shot his own decoy 3 times in the same fight. Truly an Apex experience. Love the part where Octane said, I'm going in, and immediately died. Truly an Apex experience. I love the real ones. The real ones are the best of this because all of those things are 100% happen. I love the part where none of the comments about the actual video are about the actual video. Truly an Apex experience. So some hilarious stuff. Hilarious, but no mention of any anti-trans sentiments on most of the YouTube comments, which I found surprising considering how different it was on Twitter. One of the things to note, though, is that this isn't the first time that Apex Legends has forayed into dealing with some of this hate that has gone on for having their characters, their genders, their sexual orientations, their histories like this, their pronouns, public information for the Apex Legends player base. Famously, Bloodhound, who is voiced by voice actress Allegra Clark, has faced a lot of harassment for voicing a character that is non-binary, as Allegra Clark is as well. And using they, them pronouns for Bloodhound is something that has been very important to the Apex Legends development team, writers, and in that case, the community as well. If you ever hear me talk about Bloodhound, I usually, if I am conscious and I don't make a slip up or a mistake, say they. And that is because it has been something that has been important to the story and the impact of the character as it was written, and I completely respect that that is how they want to approach it. In fact, it makes me, just through playing a game, more aware of situations that maybe I don't run across in most of my daily life and maybe I'm not surrounded by, and it helps open my eyes, and should for many other people around the world, of ways to train ourselves to be more sensitive. It's not a bad thing to be more inclusive, to be more sensitive, to be more aware, but many people are coming back with the argument that sure, I believe that, Randy, it's just, why do I have to worry about that in my video game? The truth is, comments like the one that we've just shown showcase the slippery slope of this mentality. It's not just that it's about a video game, because if you say, why does this have to be in my video game? What's stopping you from saying, why does this have to be in my books? Why does this have to be in my textbooks? Why does this have to be in my television? Why does it have to be in my movies? Why does it have to be in my community or my schools? There is no limit to the why does it have to be in situation. And that is essentially a form of discrimination that feels like it's not a big deal, but eventually, if taken over by that same rhetoric for many different accounts, and if that's your logic for thinking about the situation, will basically ruin diversity around the world. Because you can always say, sure, that's fine, but keep them over there. That's segregation, back to where we were many, many years ago, and where I'm sure the world doesn't feel we are heading. This is a tough thing to deal with in a video game setting. Part of the reason these conversations are so hard, and I think people have very little patience for them, is because it is a video game. People are trying to relax, and they are not at their same level of awareness and intensity or sharpness as they would be if they were in maybe a political discourse setting, or maybe a college lecture hall, and really focusing, taking notes, and raising their hand to contribute meaningful conversation. This is Twitter, after all. And many people are sitting at their computers, and I'm wearing shorts. I know many people like you sitting at home are probably wearing much less. And having these conversations usually doesn't go well if you are just wearing underwear. I haven't seen world hunger solved, and I know the climate crisis is far from over. But at the end of the day, I think whoever solves it will not be in their tiny whities. They'll have pants on. I'm making a joke, obviously, but I think this is one of the biggest problems. People don't give their all online. And I think that hurts the nuance of these conversations as to why we have to have them and why it's so important. It's easy to say, why is this here? Can it just go away? I don't want to think about it. I want to relax. And I think people are entitled to spaces that they can just relax and not think about anything. But brother, sister, go out to the beach and stare into the ocean. Go into the sand. Go walk around. No one will bother you. You don't have to think about anything. But when you're going into a game, a piece of multimedia that other people from many walks of life toil and work their hardest and put their blood, sweat, and tears into making the best that they can, they want to represent the people that they represent in their lives, their communities, their families, their friends, themselves, and put a piece of them into the world. And I think that ultimately is why we have this disconnect between these conversations. Yes, you do not have to be bombarded and have no time where you can just think about life and just do your own thing and not have to worry about it. But you misunderstand the privilege of playing a free-to-play game. It isn't yours. It isn't your media. You are joining into somebody else's and many other people's vision for what they want to bring to the world. And if Apex Legends wasn't a vision that many of the people at Respawn had to bring to the world, many of us, myself included, probably would have had a very different change of pace of their careers over the last few years. I know many of you at home would have a very different relaxation schedule when you're talking about playing your favorite video games. I know a lot of pros would be out of the job or, hey, thanking the gods that Overwatch 2 came out because finally there was something for them to compete in. At the end of the day, it's a difficult situation, but I want to give people a broad point of view on this because I think it is a conversation that deserves all of us to care about and to really be patient enough to have. Yes, representation matters. Yes, video games may feel like your safe space, but they're really not. Online is becoming more of how people spend their actual lives every single day, and you're not going to have the same privileges that you have as a human being of getting up, taking your headphones off, walking out, going and doing whatever you want in your real life as you will in a game, which, yes, is a multimedia thing, but is also owned by a company and worked on by a lot of people that care and have a different, usually, opinion than you do. And thank God, because you're not out there making Apex Legends. They are. This isn't so that we can all fight. This isn't so that we could see each other as separate. It's so that we could see each other as human and then we can realize that maybe what I'm asking for isn't appropriate based on what I think I deserve. And maybe what I think I deserve is maybe twice as much as I actually do. Maybe I should understand that if I don't need to pay attention to the way this character is represented, I want to focus on their kit, I can. And maybe that still means that even though I disagree with this or how it's coming across or that it's in the space that I personally consider my free time, even though I don't own this game and I'm just partaking in what someone else made, I still can do what I do and not bring hatred and not bring bigotry and not bring, devolvement of these conversations to online spaces where real hardworking people are spending their time. Hopefully that helps. Let me know in the comment section below. Want to hear your thoughts. Never give up, never stop gaming, and I will see you all next time.